the Nova Wave pack is very like inspirational, where you're gonna kind of be able to come up with something very quickly. All right, so we grabbed the classic clap from our pack and we added the VCA 65 compressor onto it. If you listen to it, it totally changes the sound of the clap, which I absolutely love. It makes it real fat, real juicy, it's spread out. Sounds amazing.
Gives you some clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. The feeling.
Yeah. Honestly, like I think that every producer, you know, when they're making a beat, they kind of like hum things, but to really actually know as a songwriter what you're doing, it's, you know, it's definitely an advantage, and it's worked out for us, to be honest with
Absolutely.
you. We don't have to fill the track with a lot of things. We don't have to fill our melodies with a lot of things, because we know at the end of the day what a voice can turn a loop into. We do have our specific roles, but at the same time, we're very fluid.
We interchange it.
Yeah,
it could
it's
be
very
anything
fluid.
on any given day. Yeah, I can be behind the board. She could be in the booth.
Right.
I could be doing drum patterns. She could be writing.
Right,
It just
right.
depends.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much approach every project the same. We know what works for Nova. So it's like, you know, we just try not to like steer away from that too much.
So now let's make some adjustments within the piano roll to add a little bit more flair. So I can double click on this, and you see how all of these notes hit at the same exact velocity and the same quantization. Let's spice it up a little bit so it sounds more like a human played it. So I'm gonna select one, press Command A, Functions, go down to MIDI Transform, and select Humanize. And so this is gonna randomize the velocity and the quantization just a little bit. Again, to make it sound more like a real drummer played it. We can play it, but this is gonna be something that's gonna be more felt than heard. Another cool one I like to use for drums is going into Functions, MIDI Transform, and maybe trying halftime. This could be something cool to do in a bridge section or a breakdown section, and it's a super easy way to change up the drums. So we selected them all, MIDI Transform, half speed, select and operate, and now it only did half of the hi-hats. Let's listen to it. So super cool and easy way to add some variation to your drum progression.
I really wanted to create something that people have not heard before. A lot of times when I'm producing my own music and I'm searching for what's available online, it's, you know, a kick drum that is sculpted maybe just with slightly different, you know, sonic choices from one pack to the next. But I wanted to create an offering that was very, very special. A friend of mine and his wife own a beautiful property out in Woodstock, New York. And Atropolis, who's my friend's producer name, their studio is called Sound Mana. And their idea is to incorporate nature sounds more into production. And I loved the idea of being able to record hundreds of nature sounds and then sound design and sculpt kick drums, synths, snares, hats, toms that are made from these organically sourced field recordings. And so when I was designing some presets on Astra, I was like, okay, incorporating things that reference nature, like heavy rain or thunder or leaves rustling, by using the brown and pink noise allows it to live in the Sound Mana pack as a holistic experience that's nature inspired. The noise synthesizers on Astra are so cool because rarely do you see options for brown and pink noise in addition to white noise. And so when I was working on my kick, for example, I definitely wanted to make sure that we got some of that low end in there. If you use pink noise, it's kind of like mid to low, and if you use brown noise, it's all the way in those lower frequencies. So can show you what that sounds like. I'm making a kick. I was really using the envelope to shape the sound that I wanted, pulling the attack all the way down, and then letting very little of that analog synthesizer come through. I didn't run the original first oscillator through the ladder filter at all. If I let in too much, you get all the melodies with it, which I didn't want, so that's always, to me, the coolest thing about a synthesizer like Astra or like this, where the versatility is so dynamic. With one knob, I can make something a kick or a synth.
Changing the formant allows you to change the timbre of the voice or the tone of the voice without actually changing the pitch. So for example, we can take one voice that's singing the same pitch and make it sound deeper or brighter depending on the effect that we're going for. In addition to pitch correction, we can use Nectar to actually create harmonies using the same vocal that we've been using this whole time. There are a couple of different ways to do this. The first way is to actually add the harmony plugin in this next slot next to pitch. If I click on this little plus sign and go down to harmony, this allows me to actually create some different layers based on the vocal that's already here. This harmony option is great for creating unisons or octaves above and below, but it's not super flexible for creating your own harmonies, so let's check it out. When I open up the harmony part of the plugin, you can see that there are these two dots that say uni. And what that stands for is unison, or just singing the same note that we already have. So let's listen to hear how that sounds.
Here, inside my bedroom, when night's upon us.
As you can hear, it's almost like there are multiple voices singing the same notes. So let's hear what it sounds like if we change these from unison to different octaves. After I click on this little uni option, you can see that it says unison at the top here. And if I click that, I can actually choose what part of the scale I actually want this harmony to be. Like I said before, some of these thirds and fifths aren't super customizable. I really recommend using this for octaves above and below especially. So let's hear how it sounds if I put a super octave on the left and a sub octave on the right.
Here, inside my bedroom, when night's upon us, I'm always listening. Friend, if you can hear me, I'd like to know just what you've been thinking.
Cool. And this really sounds like it's multiple voices now. By changing that, it actually makes it sound more natural, like there are multiple singers, because like I mentioned before, it's very hard for vocalists to hit exactly perfectly on the pitch. Same thing with time. So if I increase those, it actually makes it sound more realistic, like there are more singers in the room than there actually are. If you'd like more flexibility with your harmonies, I recommend using Nectar as a MIDI controlled effect, which is a slightly different type of setup. So I'm going to close the harmony part of our original lead vocal and just leave the pitch correction that we did before. Right below my audio track with our lead vocal on it, I've created a MIDI track or a software instrument track. And instead of putting in just a standard instrument here, I've actually gone all the way down to where it says AU MIDI controlled effects and chosen Nectar 3 as a MIDI instrument. And this is really cool. It actually allows us to play MIDI notes and chords, and it's going to tell Nectar to actually apply those to our lead vocal, essentially creating the harmonies that we've been going for. So in my MIDI controlled effect version of Nectar, I've loaded up the same harmony option. But instead of just putting in my harmonies here, like the unisons and the octaves that we did before, I've clicked on to enable MIDI. And by clicking this button, it allows me to play in the chords of the actual harmonies that I want, and it's going to read my lead vocal because I've set it up here where it says sidechain. If you click on that option in the top right and choose whatever track your lead vocal is on, it's going to read that audio and apply the pitch based on the MIDI that you play in. So I'm gonna close Nectar on this track. And as you can see here, I've actually got some MIDI data playing some chords. And these are the notes that I want my harmonies to be. So let's hear how it sounds. MIDI notes on my Nectar track, which is a software instrument track, using my lead vocal as a sidechain input and adding these notes as a harmony. We're using one particular vocal to create all these harmonies. So let's hear how it sounds from the beginning of the vocal to where the harmonies come in.
Here, inside my bedroom, when night's upon us, I'm always listening. Friend, if you can hear me, I'd like to know just what you've been thinking.
I went around my city of Newark, Brick City, New Jersey, and I recorded some really sick things on my Tascam. Ambulance. What is Newark without an ambulance? As far as the drums, I gave you guys a lot of DJ tools to work with. I really want to help the beginners kind of get an idea of how a club track is arranged, aside from just trying to shoot your shot and make one. This is actually my dog sniffing into my Tascam, and I made it a loop, which is pretty cool. Sounds tribal. Something I feel like producers should keep in mind when making a club track is, you know, the manipulation of the track as a whole. Whether you're doing a remix or whether you're doing original, the vocals is something that gives the track that spice. It's what really makes it a Jersey club song.
Big booty, big booty, big booty, big booty.
Aside from our remixes, we're very known for our dances. So we have club music that's kind of like in a line dance form. It's either telling you 2 step to the left, 2 step to the right, bounce that booty up, down, ladies, turn me up. So I wanted to give you guys a lot of variety and a couple of phrases, a couple of little chops, and definitely some stuff that's gonna spice anything you lay down.
Started seriously making beats when I was like 10 or 11. I was remaking other people's beats and stuff, just trying to get really good at it, you know? And then started getting influenced by a lot of producers as well. My brother showed me who Boy Wonder was, and I was like, wow, this guy's so sick.
She's really dope, and she's just really stellar with the sound selection. She's literally one of my favorite producers, and to hear that I inspired that it's flattering to the highest level.
You're gonna get some hard kicks, some hard 808s, some very high quality snares and hi-hats. Some really good sounds.
Crazy.
I kind of collaborated with the producers that I've signed and I work with. London Sear, my boy Bins, and my boy Genius. They've kind of put like their ideas in as well. Yeah, it means a lot to me, this kit. I don't want producers to just take the sounds and just like, especially the loops, and just plop it in there and, you know, like easily make a beat. That's not what this kit is for. They should just be like taking whatever it is and changing it up and turning it into their own thing, you know? Because it's just high quality sounds. My whole career I've been hoping to just show a lot of females that it's possible. Anyone who has the love for music, just do it, you know? Who cares if you're a female? It doesn't matter at all. We're all human, so.
I grew up singing in churches, and I just love being able to like build a song, I think in the same way that you build a track. You know, you add like one kick pattern and it can change like the entire feel. I think for me, if you take it to like 80%, for example, and there's one part that you can use your vocals to lift a section, like it takes the hit factor away from a song. It's pretty amazing. Like it's those little tiny details, especially in harmonies, that I feel like really make a big difference. And sometimes they're not even heard. Like it's really interesting because if I'm finding it hard to get the right sort of performance out of an artist, sometimes it's, again, they're just trying to warm up, they're trying to get the feeling, they get a little bit insecure, like, you know, they're like I can just tell they're not actually in it. So oftentimes what I'll have them do is double the lead, just like a verse lead, and I'll do like a 4 stack and put like, sometimes I'll do harmonies, sometimes I'll just make it sound like a bed of sound basically and have them sing on top of it, because they stop listening, especially if the track's very naked. I do that because then they don't get in their head. And I learned that trick because as an artist myself, I love to do that. I'll just play the harmonies alone without the lead vocal for now, so you could hear all the different layers. And then I'm gonna get Hunter to sing them.
How do you want me to sing it breathy like you sang it, or more in...
Let's do this one breathy, yeah. Okay.
Hey Jude.
Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, let's double that.
Hey Jude.
Great. Okay, great. Let's get 2 more.
Hey Jude.
Great. 1 more.
Hey Jude.
Great. For all intents and purposes for this today, I feel like this is, you know, the comp that we just came up with, and Hunter brought the magic, and that's my favorite part about vocal producing. I love when an artist really attaches themselves to a moment, so I feel like we captured some of that today.
When I first got into music, I was using GarageBand, and I was using all the loops, and I was just putting things together, just like, wow, that's crazy. This is fun. This is easy sometimes. This is challenging sometimes. Once I got confident in my own creations, I stopped using loops so much. I love searching for one-shots more than anything and creating my own loops. People haven't really heard too much of my production out there, and that's because I don't produce for anybody but myself. There'll be a lot of drum loops. You guys will get a lot of drum loops in this pack. That's my strength, I think. Because I don't produce for other artists, I think this is like so fire. I think this is just like a great way to be involved in other productions that I otherwise wouldn't have been involved in. I definitely get better with each beat, I think, even if it sucks. Learn what makes you you, take advantage of that. Like, use that to your advantage. I used to think that because my beats sounded so different and like nothing I'd heard before, that it was a bad thing. And then at some point I was like, I actually don't want my beats to sound, I don't want my beats to sound like everybody else's. I should have been realized how fire that made me. But better late than never.